What's going on, everybody? This be your boy DJ Anonymous with sportsbizmusic, the podcast, episode 57. And on today's show, I have a special guest, a legend. Y'all may seen her on all that on Nickelodeon, and also the Proud Family on Disney Channel. I have Alisa Reyes on the show today. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to finally talk to you because you and I have been in touch via social media, so now we finally made it happen.
Yes, we had to do a lot of rescheduling, but that it happens. We all have busy schedules and stuff like that. So, and it was around the holidays too, so it was a tough one to put in the schedule.
But everything's in alignment, so we're here now, and that's all that matters. And it's 2019, so this is going to be a great year for all of us. I could feel it. Exactly.
So how have you been doing?
I've been really good. Thank you so much for asking. It's a lot of you guys may know me from, like you said, a show called All That on Nickelodeon. I'm from the original cast. And that show alone has been a blessing because it's still re-airing, allows the newer generation and the older generation to kind of go down memory lane, but the newer generation to kind of get a taste a little bit of what TV was like in the 90s. And personally, TV is nothing like the way it used to be anyway. Things have changed immensely in Hollywood, so to be a part of an iconic, nostalgic show was just an awesome experience. And then, shortly after I did all that, because I started originally acting when I was 7 years old, and I'm originally from Manhattan, New York City. So all that shot in Orlando, Florida. So I went from Manhattan in the midst of my tweens, and then I got a taste of Orlando, Florida, which was amazing. I'm obsessed with Florida.
Yes.
And then when the show became very successful, thanks be to God, we moved from Orlando to Paramount Studios in sunny Los Angeles, California. And we actually shot all of that in the old Dr. Phil soundstage at Paramount Studios. So, all that's been an amazing platform, which then allowed me to venture off into TV and film and voiceover work and radio and music. So since all that, I've done shows such as, like you said, The Proud Family, where I play the voice of LaCienega Boulvardez on the Disney cartoon. And I've done shows such as ER, NYPD Blue, Without a Trace, 6 Feet Under, Boston Public. I was on a show called One World, which was a teen NBC show created by Peter Ingle, who created Saved by the Bell, Hang Time City Guys, and I did that for a couple years and even won a Hollywood Reporter Award for Best Young Star Actress. And then I'm on to doing films, and I had a couple radio shows on Sirius Radio, and at one point had a record deal with Disney and Hollywood Records, and now I'm kind of in my adult years just working on some new amazing projects that I can't wait to share with you all. But I just wanted to recap a little bit for maybe those that are maybe getting to know me for the first time or want to kind of know what I've done thus far.
Yes, that's what's up. So before we, touch in the present and the future, tell me about the beginnings, before even going on all that and everything. Tell me what made you want to get into acting, into the music, entertainment world and stuff like that of that nature.
I've always wanted to be in the entertainment business. I always really related and resonated with singing and dancing and being a performer. I told my mother probably at the age of, I was hinting to my mom at the age of 3 that I wanted to be performing and stuff, but I didn't start a little till I was maybe 6 or 7, which is still young.
Yes.
But I knew from the day I was born that I wanted to be an entertainer, and luckily, God rest my mother's soul, because she passed away about 10 years ago, but she's been my rock. I had a really supportive mother and a really supportive family. And, lo and behold, at the age of 7, we didn't know how I could be an actress. We just found out kind of what was transpiring locally within our community in Manhattan. Asked around a couple other people, and, on a whim, my mom took a couple of pictures of me. And we submitted them to a bunch of agencies. And there is a very well-known magazine that now has a website called The Backstage. And the backstage is a great place for people that are in the business,
Mm-hmm.
writers, singers, dancers, actors, that can find out kind of what's going on locally within their area. And for me, that was in Manhattan. And so I was able to find out about agencies that way. Lo and behold, the first agent that we kind of reached out to, thanks be to Jesus, contacted us. And so I went in. I have no experience under my belt. I'm like a 7-year-old little girl just with a passion. And sitting there with a very supportive mother. I mean, I'm an only child, so it was just my mom and I. Like, we were Roddy-Da together, Thelma and Louise. And I'm sitting there, and I was told to, like, read a script for this agent. I had to read some sort of, like, commercial script, like, Smucker's Jams and Jellies is the best jelly in the world, like one of those kind of commercials.
Yeah.
And I didn't mess up. I did a good job. I gave a lot of energy. I showed that I wanted to be there and that I was passionate, that I was willing to take direction and learn. And the agent's name was Tracy. She had a company called Tracy's Kids. And lo and behold, she's like, you know what, I want to sign you. I see something in you, I believe in you. And that's really what it takes, is just one person igniting that fire. But the first person is yourself.
Exactly.
You got to believe in yourself first. Once you believe in yourself, then the light just shines, right?
Yes.
So she sent me out on an audition. My first audition was for a honey commercial, which happened to have been a SAG union commercial, which meant if I booked that, I would then be a member of the Screen Actors Guild. You know, SAG is, for us actors, our union. You know, without having SAG backing us up, we would not be paid fairly. We wouldn't have a health and pension, yada, yada, yada. So this was a big deal at 7 years old. I went out for the commercial. I got it. And I became SAG in 1990. And the rest was history. I just really then had the streak and had the bug for the business. And at around 12 years old, I found out about a casting through my agent at the time. Since, I would say between 7 and 12, I did a Wendy's commercial, a cornflakes commercial. I've done a Milton Bradley commercial. Milton Bradley is the company that makes games, like board games.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I did a Squeeze It commercial. I did a Saturday Morning on ABC commercial. Like, I did commercial and modeling and industrials. Industrials would maybe be work that, like, kids are teaching you how to do something. It would be like informational things that you would see maybe in your school or like on PBS or things like that. So I kind of had my fair share of getting my feet wet. I mean, I even did background work as an actor.
Wow.
To where I was actually in the movie Malcolm X as a kid, and I was in the movie The Super, to where I was originally background actors, where I was just a kid in the background, but the director saw something in me in the film Malcolm X and in the film The Super, to where The Super is with Joe Pesci and Ruben Blades, and that was in the early 90s, and Malcolm X, everybody knows Denzel Washington played him. That movie was iconic.
One of his best movies ever.
One of his best movies ever. I was just a little girl that was a background actress, but these directors on these two different sets saw something in me and gave me kind of a small under five line part to do. So like I was like a featured extra or a featured background player in these different kind of projects, which really, really got my feet wet and made me want to do even more film work. But like, you know, people don't know that I've been on these different projects. So like if you see the movie The Super, you will see me in a bunch of different scenes, and I got some close-ups, and I was given some special things to do, because in the movie The Super, Joe Pesci plays a slumlord landlord. And basically we live in this horrible building in the city, and I am with a mother and father, and I am with a boy that plays my brother, and, you know, I was given a couple lines to say in Spanish, and Joe Pesci falls through the ceiling, and it's like this big scene. So, like, back in the then, that movie was, like, kind of iconic, because Joe Pesci, everybody loved him from Goodfellas and all that stuff, and I got a chance to meet Joe Pesci at 8 years old. I mean, I got a chance to meet Denzel Washington doing Malcolm X. My little part in Malcolm X at like 7, 8 years old was me being a student back in the 40s.
Yeah.
in a classroom with the younger version of that Malcolm X, and you see me in the room, like, just do. So I've been around for a while. I was counting and doing the math. I've been in the business for coming up almost 29, 30 years.
Wow, yeah, you've been in the game for a long time. Like, that's why I told you even before we recorded, like, you're a legend, in my eyes, and a whole bunch of, well, we all grown now, but like, in the 90s, late 80s, 2000s, like, we was kids, and like, we remember like watching like all that and like all these shows, and like, even now we try to compare these shows now, and you're right, like back in them days, even when it comes to movies, like, it's not the same like how it is now, so.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the 90s compared to now is definitely night and day. I think what's changed is, first off, diversity has always been a big thing. I'm Irish, Italian, Dominican, so I like to call myself the United Nations. I'm a little bit of everything. You are seeing people of more color, definitely on TV and in films nowadays.
Yes.
But that was what I think appealed to me about all that and all the projects I've ever done, even my show One World on NBC.
Yes.
Both ensembles were about mixed, diverse kids. Even on One World, I played a Cuban-born entrepreneur, and we were all adopted brother and sisters. On all that, you got Kenan Thompson, Kel Mitchell, you got myself, you got Angelique Bates, Katrina Johnson, Lori Beth Denberg. Mm-hmm. We're all like a melting pot, and we all came from different states because they had done, a nationwide search to cast this, TV show, which was created by Brian Robbins, who was the creator of the show, who came from a show called Head of the Class,
yes,
who actually is now the president of Nickelodeon. So, I mean, that just goes to show you, Brian Robbins, who was on Head of the Class, that created my show, all that on Nickelodeon that I was on, is now the president of the network, Nickelodeon. This is my favorite new quote that I'll share with you.
Okay.
You gotta focus to get the pocus. So if you focus, you're gonna get that pocus, and you're gonna get all that magic.
Yeah, cause like you have a point, because even when I look back at everyone who came out that show, like, one person I always tell people all the time is, like, I look at someone like, he came on late, was Nick Cannon. Like, Nick Cannon, he came out real late, but seeing him from then and now, like, he's like one of the most, like, to me, he's one of my favorite entrepreneurs, especially as for a black person, as a minority.
Yeah,
because he does so much for the community, and he always bring out new talent and things of that nature. And he also showed these, even the kids coming up, that yes, you could be a celebrity and stuff, you could have all this money, but education is still a factor, and I really respect him about that too. So you're right, like, a lot of y'all grew up.
He's also a man of God, as is
Yes.
Kel Mitchell. I think at the end of the day, you got to put your faith in whatever it is that you believe in. For me, it's my Lord Jesus Christ, so I believe in God, right? I believe in my angels. I believe in my higher power, my higher self, by, connecting to Source. And then you got to be in gratitude. We always worry about what we don't have rather than being appreciative of what we do have. So when you have a platform such as people like Nick Cannon and my co-stars and all that stuff, and even myself, I'm very, very specific on the projects that I do, the things that I post. I think it's very imperative to be of love and light, because I'm a reflection of you. So at the end of the day, like, I'm very big on the law of attraction. What you put out comes back to you. Yes. So I'm not going to throw shade ever, because I don't want that thrown back at me. I'm only going to resonate what is good of the light. And when you have a platform to be able to give back, then that's what life is all about.
Exactly.
Love. Simply stated,
Exactly. So, like, while working it out, before we move on to everything else, because I just want to like hear your experience. Like, how was your experience, like, working on all that? Like, how was even like the I guess the tryout before, like, actually getting picked?
I've never experienced experienced anything like it in my life because I would say from 7 to 12, my experience was like modeling and commercials and starting